Hi, so this is a follow-up to the previous video where I congratulated myself for getting this to work. But I thought I'd go through kind of step by step in this one, and it'll give you an idea of what needs to happen to make this work. So this is the interface in the Alcatel. I got one of the T-Mobile versions. It's worked just fine though since we got it and put it up online the 1st of January. We've been using it intermittently as an adjunct to our Starlink system, if for no other reason because the little Alcatel router draws like a fraction of the power that Starlink does. And so when we go to bed at night, we'll shut all the electronics down, but leave the little Alcatel LINKZONE router fired up. And so if we want to, from bed, get something on our phones, then it works just fine. But we've been using the systems independently. I have a router on the boat that I'll show you in a minute. But we'd log into the other router when we wanted to use Starlink, and we'd log into the Alcatel device when we wanted to use that. But the router I chose was an ASUS router. It's I believe RT-AX86. I don't know. We'll look at that in a minute. But it has a redundant WAN port set up on it, and I wanted to see if I could use that to drive the Alcatel, the LINKZONE. So I looked up online and sure enough found some people who'd been able to get it to work via USB, and so I thought I'd give it a try, and did, and it worked just fine. So the main thing you have to start with is the little Alcatel itself must already be connected to the main network. So you've got all that set up, and look like this. This is the home screen. Notice in the upper right, I've got everything green. So it's got the 3G live signal, and it's got the arrows up and down showing traffic in both directions. And so this is a working device, right? So I'm connected to it right now to show you that, because there's a limitation I'll tell you about later. But so here I'm hooked up to the Alcatel. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. But now I'm going to go ahead and go to the main router. Bingo. And that's All Saints. So connect up to All Saints. And now log into it. And here we go. Here's my status. So the primary WAN, that is the Starlink. For those of you that have seen this before, it has a network address in the 192.168.1 range, and here in this case it's 174. So that's the address that's being given from the Starlink to this connection via DHCP. And it just came, by itself, the Starlink's working fine. It's connected up fine. Here is the Alcatel connection, right? Now, if you look, I don't know that I can circle it, but at the bottom of the middle where it shows USB 2.0 and it says Alcatel Mobile Broadband, that's the link via the USB to the Alcatel LINKZONE. It found that all by itself. I didn't have to tell it anything. The only thing I had to go do was up on the left here. Where is it? USB application. You have to go here to the 3G, 4G and turn this on. It's not enabled by default. But if you come here, and it's basically the default settings. I don't think I changed anything. But you see it, select USB device, USB modem, and that's oh yeah, I changed the telecommunication standard. It came, no, I think that was the default. Anyway, this is it. That's all there is to here. Okay, but the other thing, if you haven't already done it, go to your Dual WAN setup here under WAN and then Dual WAN. Okay, and it should have already put this in. You should have your primary WAN as WAN and your secondary WAN as USB. Okay, and then on the Internet Connection tab, it basically is what mirrored of the settings that you have, and make sure this is also enabled. All right, I think it was by default. But that gets you to this state. Okay, now the issue with cold standby is the issue. Okay, there is no way to assign a static IP address to that link. Okay, and what that means is it relies on DHCP in order to function. Okay, so That's kind of problematic because that's what leaves it in cold standby. It keeps going there. That's not where I want to go. Is it this? Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. So here is the actual interface configuration right now. Notice it has no IP address. That's really the issue. Is if you had the ability to put a static address in, then it would have a position on the network. All right, it would have an address and a network visibility to the router. But because the DHCP is enabled and it hasn't gotten an address, you can't see into that subnet. And that means you can't manage that device through the network until it's connected. And the device is this first tab that I went to. This is where I showed you at the beginning. Now I'm cut off. I can't get back to it. Okay, but it's a minor annoyance. That's the worst of it. But anyway, this is how it functions. So if I want, let me show you, this is kind of cool too. So we control our Starlink power via our Victron charge controllers. Okay, I use the cockpit solar controller, and what I've done is wired the dedicated oh God, what do you call them? Inverter, a dedicated inverter to the load terminals. Okay, you see it's taking 0.1 amps. Well, it's actually driving a relay that's driving the inverter. But the bottom line is I have control of it right here. Okay, so right now the power, as you can see, is always on, and all I have to do to shut Starlink off, and we do this every night because it really sucks juice. So it's like, okay, always off, boom. That's actually shut it down now. So now if I go back to this, notice it already says network cable is unplugged, and now the secondary will go out and show disconnected, and it's got to go through the DHCP cycle, all right, for it to work. So that was the first try, but now boom, it got the address 192.168.150.180, and it's up and connected. It just amazed me. That was so easy, and I didn't do anything really other than plug it in and turn it on, and boom, it just worked. So just awesome. And I've got it set to fail back. Hang on for a minute. So if I come back here to my controller, turn it back on. Okay. So it's on, and I'll come back here. Now, if you don't want to hang for this, you don't have to, because this is going to take a minute for it to find the satellite again, because it's just coming up from, powered down. It should just be a minute, because we're sitting here at anchor, and it's really quiet, and I don't think we've moved any. Oh, it looks like it's coming up already. There we go. Give it just a second. Back to cold standby. That's good. Now it's going to get an... Well, now it won't come up until it has signal. So it may sit here for a few minutes, and I can egg it on. Let's see if that happens. Nope. Take a look at it. Still hasn't got an address. Still, again, it's powering up. And I can go over to its Wi-Fi, and that would be the star one. It is connected, which means it should be back here. Oh, I dropped off. That's right. Never mind. Go back. Go back. Come on, come on, come on. All Saints. And it's connected too, so, yep, it's back. Okay, not yet. That's a little odd. And boom, there it is. Connected. Secondary back to cold standby, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So there.